So, two different skill sets, two different fan bases, and two different players. When we talk about Anthony Edwards and Jalen Green, you have two guys who can light it up on the court and produce major highlight plays. Whether you want emphatic dunks, nasty step backs, or just some jaw-dropping ankle breakers, between these two you can get a variety of everything, but today you must choose one skill set you would rather have from one of these players. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the Versus series, and between Jalen Green's pure shot creation and Anthony Edwards' vicious slashing ability, which skill set would you rather have? Now before you're quick to jump to your answer, watch this video all the way through as we will break down both players' skill set deeply and really analyze what makes them great at these key skills. So we're gonna dive right into the fierce slashing of Anthony Edwards. When you see him carving through the defense like they're cones, he makes it look quite effortless, and then when you see him punch it on a defender's head, it solidifies just how dangerous he can be when he decides to take it to the rack. This season, Edwards converted on nearly 64% of his 515 field goal attempts in the restricted area, and if we're to dig a little bit deeper and get more specific, Edwards drives the ball 12 times a game, and on these attacks to the basket and attempts 6 shots at the rim, converting them at a 51% rate. Now earlier in the season, I talked about how poised and more controlled Edwards has been when he's making his way through the defense, and it's quite amazing how well not only his footwork, but his navigation skills have been. Like if you watch on this play, although this might be on a more basic level, it allows you to see exactly what I'm talking about before we get into more complex examples. Coming off this screen at the top of the key, Ant realizes that Jokic is the only man he has to beat to get to the rim, so instead of just leaping from further out and trying to finish over the top, he instead initiates the contact first by getting into Jokic's body with that inside shoulder, and this knocks Jokic off balance just enough for Ant to have an easy lay at the rim. You may see other times when he'll show more of a patient yet focused approach as he slows down after coming off this screen. It doesn't matter that 1, 2, or 3 defenders are surrounding him, Ant's eyes are locked in on that rim to go finish, so he serves them this Euro to split the pack and coast in for 2. So as you can see, he's more deliberate with his approaches to the rack, and what's so special about Edwards is he doesn't always need the ball in his hands to make a way for himself. I mean, for real, it's almost like he's playing football out there sometimes with his route running abilities, and on this action here, Ant jabs to the outside, which gets Dillon Brooks caught on the screen when he runs off of it, so now he has the advantage when he's curling around, receives this pass in motion, and can lay it in with ease. Now as we start to get deeper into his relentless finishing ability, there's 3 subsections that we're going to cover, and I might just throw in some extra credit. But for the major 3, it's going to be his handle to the rim, his traffic navigation, and the strength he possesses to move defenders. So diving right in, when you see Ant slow down the pace, serve the combo handle on the size up, and then bobble the ball but recover it on the hezzy, it leaves the defenders in the dust, and he's able to glide in the air for an and 1. Over these years, Edwards has improved greatly on his handle, making it more sturdy and tight, and by tying that in with his deceptive speed changes, it makes it a challenge for most defenders to keep him out of the paint. Starting up high here, Cam Johnson thinks he has Edwards right where he wants him in his sights, but Edwards just quickly crosses between the legs, sending Johnson on vacation, and with no immediate defender in his way to stop him, Edwards now has a head of steam, so when Royce O'Neal steps up, it's just a smooth Euro right around him and a kiss off the glass with the inside hand. Now I know what you're thinking, that Euro was a pretty sight to see, and when Edwards is slicing his way to the rim, he's no stranger to these acrobatic moves. I mean, watch out on this play, he uses not only the change of pace, but also that great footwork to get to his destination. When pushing at Reggie Bullock, once making contact, Ant slows it down using his behind the back to change directions, and then once he starts to attack again, he's met by 2 defenders, but it's nothing for him to split right through with that carryover Euro, and then go lay it in on the other side. Seeing plays like this from him early on in his career is a great thing to see, and this footwork and navigation helps him pick apart the defense in many ways. When you're knifing through the lane, you can't just go in there like a madman, as you have to protect the ball, be elusive, and then time out things perfectly. Traffic navigation is something that Edwards has worked on intentionally, and when you see him push it with a head of steam, gain control of the handle, and then split through the defense with his carry under, it might be a small detail, but this is what helps him not get the ball stripped when he's driving to the basket. If you watch closely coming off this screen, Edwards crosses back towards the middle of the floor, but he keeps it low on purpose so the defender can't get a hand on it, and he can explode right through the contact, and then once splitting the defense in the air, Edwards lays this in with some English on the reverse. Yeah, Ant can get pretty crafty when he's finding his way to the rim, but it's not always aggressive attacks as he can use the deceptive speed that we discussed earlier and slow it down right as he feels the defense collapsing, but once he sees the gap, he pushes through with 2 long strides, and it's a wide open lay at the rim. Trust me, it constantly gets harder and harder to keep Edwards out the paint because once you stop his attack one way, he comes at you again with a different type of approach, and now the defense is left guessing how to slow him down. Yeah, the Euros are nice, them combo handles are a sight to see as well, but once his confidence is up and he has nothing else on his mind but scoring inside, well here comes these uber strong attacks where it's like the defense runs into a stone wall instead of the other way around, as Edwards just powers through them with brute force. It can all out be a quick crossover where he burst out just exploding to the rim, slamming it through traffic, or it can be more controlled at a slower pace where he can just body the 7-footer and Brook Lopez out the way to go put 2 on the board. Ant's explosiveness and athleticism make him a formidable force when driving to the basket, and you can't go wrong putting the ball in his hands, trusting him to go get you a bucket. Now look, if the inside game isn't exactly what you're looking for, and you want someone who can go create a shot for himself from outside the paint, then this is where Jalen Green's amazing space creation comes in handy. With one less year in the NBA than Anthony Edwards, Green still has some room for improvement as far as conversion rate. As you can see, he only knocked down 35% of his 483 pull-up and jump shot variations this season, but when we stress test this with the eye test, you can immediately see that Green is destined to be an absurd shot maker. When you turn on the TV and watch Green, you get impressed by his space creation and ability to create his own shot, especially on these pull-up jumpers. He's a highly skilled scorer and possesses exceptional athleticism and quickness, which enables him to create separation from defenders to get his shot off. His diverse offensive skill set includes a smooth handle and excellent footwork, and when he pairs those two together, it's just too much for the defender to keep up with. Perfect example here, Green sizes up the defense with the through the legs crossover combo, and as he pushes strong towards the basket, he gives the defender a slight bump, but stays balanced on the step back to create separation, and now it's just a wide open fade. Even if Green barely has room to create, he can be 2 steps ahead of the defense, and here he knows Fox will run over the top of the screen aggressively, so he just plants hard to go back towards the baseline, and now as the double is coming his way, Green ties in this through the leg sidestep, which gets him deep in this corner with enough time to elevate and knock it down from 24 feet. It really doesn't take a whole lot of space for Green to get his shot off, as he has a great lift on the jumper that allows him to be pretty unbothered by most defenders, no matter how close they are to him. With not much time left on the clock, it's just one rhythm dribble so he can get set and knock it down from deep range. And then when he's making the defense play twister, sometimes it's still not enough to generate tons of space, but Jalen says, hey, it doesn't even matter, and drains it despite being heavily smothered. So honestly, you have to be up super tight on Green when he's operating on the court, but even then, you could still not be enough to throw him off. Some players will try to crowd him so he has no space to create anything, but this can actually be quite dangerous because if they anticipate the screen use too much, then this is when Jalen snatches them with the behind the back going the other way, it sends them out of the play way too far, and by the time they recover, Green is already rising up for the shot. This only works because Jalen gives 100% on all these plays, and when you have to chase him around the court, it's already tiring enough, and it puts the defense in a situation where they don't know what's coming next. So once he receives the ball and you think you have a break, Green catches you off guard by bursting out the triple threat, and as you try to recover, he uses that sidestep to create even more separation, and the rest is history. These quick moves can be a lot to deal with, and honestly, he can look like a blur in the defender's eyes when he shifts directions at the speed of light. As you can see on those plays, he's adept at using screens and off-ball movement to free himself up for open jumpers, and by having such a good understanding of how to navigate through the screens, it helps him find the perfect angles to get his shot off. Now this is just one aspect the defense will have to worry about, because once he starts seriously adding in those step backs and side steps into his game, well, the defense really stands no chance in stopping him from getting an open look. Here he ties in that quick burst of speed and change of direction when getting the ball, and then bounces away from the double before pulling up for a midi. And then when he's feeling a little bit more shifty, he'll snatch back with the reverse through the legs to get behind the arc and let it fly. I can't stress it enough about how crazy it is the amount of separation Green creates when he dishes out these moves, and for him to be moving at full speed, use the footwork, and stay balanced is truly a thing of beauty. I mean seriously, he takes it right at the defense here, and on this step back, Green is positioned the total opposite way of his shooting stance, but you can see he literally makes the adjustment in mid-air while stepping back, so once he's done completing the step back to get behind the 3-point line, he's set, locked and loaded, ready to fire it up. You tell me, does it really get much better than that? Jalen Green's space creation on his pull-up jumpers is one of his greatest strengths as a scorer by far, and his combination of athleticism, ball handling, footwork, and shooting ability allows him to create scoring opportunities for himself even if he's in the tightest situations. As he continues to develop his skills and gain more experience, he has potential to become even more dangerous as a scorer in the NBA. So now we have the biggest question of all. Between Anthony Edwards slashing and Jalen Green shot making, which skill would you rather have from one of these players if they were on your team? It's really a tough decision, and if you want to know my answer, then comment down below what you would choose, and I'll be sure to respond to you with my thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like before heading over to watch this Austin Reaves analysis. I thank you all for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.